Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. We've got a fun project today. We're going to use the threading tool that we made in our last video to cut new threads in this clearly really badly bagged out. We're going to make a new nut. There's no fixing this nut. And yes, we're making a new nut, but there's also some changes. There's some things I don't like about this nut. One of the things is that even when I'm all the way in on my widest wheel, there's a lot of wasted threads right here. So my nut's going to be longer so that I have contact with more threads, more the better. Another thing I don't like about this nut is it bottoms out before I can get some of my smaller wheels to actually clamp into it. So I'm going to take this off real quick and I'll show you what I'm changing about the other side of this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a second counterbore. So there's this counterbore here. I'm going to put another second counterbore down here that's about 1/8 of an inch deep. That'll allow this thing to travel on all the way. And the reason I'm not just making this counterbore deeper is because I have all these custom-made spacers. And for example, if this counterbore was deeper, there'd be none of this sticking up right here, and there'd be nothing to hold the wheel. So that's why I'm just going to counterbore in the center a little deeper so that it goes farther on. Okay. This is my little sketch for the nut that we're going to build, where I told you it was going to be longer. That's this kind of hub here that's going to buy us some extra threads. And the new counterbore that lets us seat in all the way, that's over here. And then, of course, we have our threaded hole. And from the other view, my current nut has 2 holes. I'm adding 2 more just because currently sometimes it can be awkward to use the existing holes. This will give me more options as to where I can place my wrench.
How big is that?
3-inch diameter by a little over 3/4 inch long. Just gonna give this a quick little deburr. My spacer's in. Just stop it. How's that ever out of square?
Just gonna clean the face up?
Yeah.
Paper dry.
As always, setting up a dial here so I can avoid a crash when I get all the way in like this. I'm getting ready to turn the OD down up into this point anyways. So I've set my trusty dial to read 0 when I want to stop. As I'm approaching the end of the cut, this dial is going to start traveling. Boom, that's where I stop just before hitting this jaw. I'm going to bring this diameter down.
One more cut?
One more cut. Awesome. Just deburn this by hand. I'm not sticking my fingers in there with this thing spinning.
What you doing now?
I'm cutting away all this now. So what we got here now is like this and like this, and I'm going to cut away this. I'm using this dial to get to my 1/4 inch depth. And I'm using this dial, I'm stopping at the 0 for as I get close to the center there.
Did I get a song stuck in your head?
A little bit.
What you doing? What you doing?
Well, I just want to use this tool to deburr those edges so they're not all sharp while I'm working on it.
Oh no. Is it gone? Did you find it?
Yeah. It's you and your damn camera that's making this so hard. Jesus.
Ta-da!
That sucked.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Of course you did.
What you doing now? Just spacing it off, or?
Yeah, facing it off. I'm going to bring it to the right dimension.
Final cut.
Yep. Now I have to turn this diameter down to the proper diameter and for the proper length. See if I clear.
Ooh,
A little tight.
a little bit.
So I'm not going to use that tool. Gonna use that tool right there. That fits in. Oh, that fits. That'll do it. Now we got to touch off on this surface, set the dial so we know where we're going. And I need to reverse my motor and reverse my feed.
Oh, does it sounds like wind chimes?
Yeah, it does, eh?
What are you doing?
Well, I'm just knocking this little bit here.
Can't see through your hand.
Oh. Well, this little bit here, this super thin little bit, is because I couldn't get quite far enough coming from the other side. Now I'm where I need to be coming this way.
Ta-da!
Yeah, so that works. It's time to make a hole. Five eighths 11. 5/8 18. I need a 9/16 tap drill.
What kind of book is that?
It's a Mechanic's Vest Pocket Reference Book.
Use that a lot, eh?
Oh yeah, it says mechanics, but it's a machinist thing. Got a little bit of burr on there still. I got to knock that off.
Oh, it's so close.
I got a touch. And set my dial. And final, like 5,000. And that should do her. That was this counter bore right here that we just did. Now we're going to come in and we're going to do this counter bore in here. And this one's 1/8 of an inch deep. So I'm touching off, setting my 0. Now we have 1/8 of an inch to go on this feed.
What you doing?
Oh, just finding the center height of the machine so I can set my tool to the center height. Okay, that's center height. Memory serves me. It's 18 threads per inch. Yep.
What do you got?
Thread pitch gauge for measuring the pitch of threads. 18 is number 2. Check. And 3. There we go. I don't let compressed air anywhere near my machines because the air can blow chips in places you don't want them and pack them in there. But I am going to be using my split nut on my lead screw to cut this thread, and I'm going to have to engage my thread chasing dial, and I don't want chips and crud all running through there. So I'm going to blow this thing off real good so it's nice and clean, lube it up, and then we can get ready to thread. I'm just checking the teeth on my thread chasing dial, make sure it's not all full of filth. Just touching. Okay. That's where my 0 needs to be. So that's where I want to stop threading before anything hits anything else. So I'm going to start by setting my dial up with the usual slightly less than 100 thou reading on it. I've got this 0 on my cross slide set when I just touched off in the bore. I've got this set so that after the carriage first touches it, it'll come around the 95 thou back to this 0. That's where I'm going to disengage my split nut. The compound rest is at 29.5 degrees. And so we're going to give it some feed for our first cut, and we'll see what happens here. So now I'm coming out 100 thou. I'm coming back. Gonna come in 5 more thou. I am aware that with this particular pitch of thread, there's probably different numbers on my chasing dial that I can gauge it at, but I'm honestly not in that big a hurry and just didn't even bother to look that up. What?
Well, I've been like, can you hurry up?
Well, some of us are in more of a hurry than others.
Some of us aren't.
Actually, I'm going to go to 2.5 thou per pass now. Well, before we get too carried away in the lathe, cutting those threads, I'm going to take my arbor out of this machine, and this is what we're going to match the threads to, and we're going to try and really do a nice job of that. And as I suspected, we need to go more. So I'm back to 0 here. I'm putting a little feed on over here, another 2.5 thou. Get her going. Watch our chasing dial, our thread chasing dial. I'm going to kick in just after the 0. And when this dial gets to this 0, I'll pop it out. Out 100 thou. Back in the 100 thou. Then we'll try it in there again. Well, she's getting tight. Now, that makes sense to me. That makes perfect sense to me because the threads on this arbor are much more worn towards the outside. Like, I mean, the nut's probably never even been in here. So that really does make sense to me. Well, we're going to have to go deeper. But there may be some sacrifice because even though the idea here originally was to make a mint thread that matches a bagged out thread. But the bottom line is this thread, there's no more meat to cut any more off of this, so that's not an option. Fixing this thread is not an option. You can see here on the end, this wall is so thin. There's just nothing there to work with. So my idea was making a new nut because it's so much simpler and quicker than this. And we'll make the nut go all the way on, and it'll fit tighter when it's in than it does when it's out. I'm sure it'll buy us some life. Worst case scenario, if that doesn't pan out long term, I need to build a new one of these. So here's the way this is going to go together. Now, way out here where the arbor threads are so worn, it's barely better than the nut that was on there. But this is about where my thickest wheel is, and it's starting to get better. Real common that I use 1/4 inch, like there, it's mint. And when you get down into the 1/16 range,
Going nowhere.
then she's like right firm. So for the 1/4 inch, way better than the other nut. For the 1/2 inch, meh. Well, I suspect, as I said, that we'll be building one of these in our future. But this keeps us doing work for now. So I'm going to clamp this down, the rotary table. It's also a dividing head. Anyways, I'm going to clamp that down with some T-bolts right where it is. And then I'm going to loosen up the clamps to the milling column. And I'm going to rotate that into position. I'm going to adjust the height of my column so that hopefully I can get my piece in here, dialed into this forge on chuck. And then we can pick up our bolt hole circle and I can center drill, and countersink my holes for my wrench. Now we're going to go around and around and around.
Nice.
So that's about a thou altogether. We can work with that. I'm going to disengage my quick change gearbox. What that's going to let me do is I can engage my split nut to micro control the longitudinal feed of my apron, my saddle. So we're all centered up, or touched off. We're not centered up, we're touched off. I'm going to calculate how far to move the carriage now to get positioned over the center of where my bolt hole circle is going to be. Then I can start center drilling and drilling those holes. So now we're going to get the rotary table around to a 0. Make our math nice and easy for us. We're not going crazy. We're just going off the degrees pointer. We'll get that dialed in as best we can by eye. Okay, measure those up, see if they're 1 3/4 like they should be. There's my calipers set at 1 3/4 and looks pretty much bang on to me. I think we're good. That blows.
Yeah, broken drill. So what you gonna do now?
I could use the other end of the center drill and make some holes that were off slightly, because all I was trying to do there with more holes was give myself more choice when I'm actually over there. So here I've just gone another 30 degrees of rotation. I mean, it's still going to be balanced because all the holes will be across from each other. There is a little bit of center drill broken off inside this hole right here, and I won't be able to do anything about that. But it's so small, it's just like half of the end of this thing here that's in that hole. So I'm sure that's going to be fine. I'll just drill a new pair of holes over here, and I'll leave these holes alone now, and then we'll bring these holes and the new holes to depth with the 1/4 inch drill bit. We're going to the same depth as each other as best we can.
Looks good.
I'm just gonna. Here's our nut, inside from the edge and the outside. So yeah, we have 4 holes. There's more choice than there used to be for the
No,
wrench.
there's 6 holes. I see 6 holes.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fair. But there's like 2 usable sets of holes.
Perfect.
And that'll give me more choices as to where my hand is when I'm trying to operate this nut. Well, that's it for today's show, guys. Hope you all enjoyed.
And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe.
Bye
Bye for now.